Do you keep attracting the same type of frustrating or hurtful relationships over and over in your life? Or do you keep running into the same blocks that stop you from being able to connect with guys that you truly like? Well, I'm gonna share 5 things you can let go of today that are gonna help you step into your power and into the sort of incredible relationship that you are so worthy of. We'll be right back. Hi ladies, Matt Schaefer, your empowerment, connection, and relationship coach. I'm a former attorney who's committed his life to supporting you and creating the sort of fun, fulfilling, dynamic connections and relationships with men that you are so worthy of. And this is one of my absolute favorite things to talk about, the act of surrender, what we can let go of to have more meaningful connections and relationships with the people in our lives. I do this work with my clients and my students every day, and we're gonna dive into it. But before we do, take a second, hit that little subscribe button and click the bell so that you get notified every time I put up a new video, which I'm doing on a regular basis. And also be sure to click the link in the description and also in the comments, because I have an amazing love course, Mastery of Connection, that involves live coaching with me. It's 3 weeks long. It's going to be an epic experience, and it starts February 8th. So you don't want to miss that. Click the link, register, fill out an application, and guess what, guys? It's 100% free. So don't miss out on that, and let's dive into this, shall we? So let's start off by talking about why it's so important to practice active self-awareness and surrender when it comes to our relationships with men. Because in my own work with my clients and students, I've found that there are 5 common mindsets that create patterns of self-sabotage, isolation, and even pushing away of men that my women really want to get to know better. They really want to build these relationships, right? But they keep on getting in their own way. And once you're able to identify and let go of those patterns, you're going to be much more present and free and authentic in the way that you show up to the man that you're looking to date and build a relationship with, which is going to make you much more magnetic and high value to him. Because at the end of the day, ladies, we are craving seeing and feeling and experiencing the real you. So the 5th thing that you must release to have deep, meaningful love with men is the stories that you've created around all men. So before I explain where these come from, let's give you a few examples of what it sounds like. All men want is sex. Men just can't be trusted. Every guy leaves eventually. And to be real with you ladies, this is probably the biggest obstacle that you have to fostering the kind of relationship with men that you want. And these stories that we create around men, they're actually a protective mechanism that our ego generates in response to trauma, either a series of traumatic experiences that we've had in relationship, or maybe even just one. It does not take a lot. So how do we identify the stories that we've created around men? Well, you want to look for these huge rules that you've created about all men, a massive generalization that encompasses all men, and that therefore it dictates your behavior, right? And has a huge impact on whether or not you're willing to put yourself out there or to connect with guys at all. And once we've identified these stories that we've created around men, we're going to release them by asking yourself one simple and powerful question. Can I possibly know this to be true? Can I possibly know? Can I possibly know that all men will leave me if I'm with them long enough? Can I possibly know that? No. Because here's the thing, you haven't experienced all men. You haven't experienced probably even a wide sample of men. You're making up this generalization. You're making up this story based upon just a handful of experiences, or maybe even just one traumatic experience, right? And so once we're able to see realistically that just because we've created a rule around something, it isn't necessarily true, we can start to collect evidence to prove and demonstrate to ourselves that it's not true. You can start having good dates, right? You can start proving yourself wrong about that rule once you realize that it isn't actually real, right? It's just a protective mechanism that your emotional self has created to try to stop you from getting hurt. And the 4th thing to let go of to foster meaningful love is the limiting beliefs and stories you have created around yourself. And this is another powerful example of how our egos try to protect us at our own expense. And the top level of what we're talking about are the stories, right? The stories of our own limitations that we have created about ourselves. And one of the biggest ones is the I'm not blank enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough, I'm not thin enough. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, right? At some level, you're just not enough. And that's a reason why even bother going out there and looking for love? And other examples of these stories might be, I'm unlovable, right? I'm worthless. Or maybe I don't provide value in relationship. That's why men always leave me. You see how our stories sort of build off each other, and we come up with reasons within ourselves to blame ourselves for the fact that our relationships haven't been working. And underneath the top layer of all these stories that we've created about ourselves and all of our limitations is a deep and fundamental limiting belief or limiting beliefs. Most people have 1 to 3 core limiting beliefs, right? That all of our stories about ourselves flow out of. And the biggest one is, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of love, right? If I'm not worthy of love, then I'm going to come up with all these reasons, all these stories to justify that unworthiness. That's the vicious cycle so many of us end up in. So how do we identify these limiting beliefs and stories that are holding us back from the relationship that we need to release? Well, the way that we do it is by looking at the end result of, if we follow this limiting belief or this story, if we choose to believe that it's true and we operate from it, what's going to be the end result? For example, if we choose to believe that no man is worthy of being trusted, then what are we going to do? When we're in relationship, when we're connecting with the guy, we're not going to be vulnerable with them. We're going to hold them at arm's length, right? And they're not going to want to trust us because we don't trust them. And eventually they're going to leave, which is going to prove us right about the fact that we decided that no man can be trusted. So ask yourself, at the end of the day, do the stories and beliefs that you've created around who you are, do they disqualify you from being in a relationship with man? Do they undermine you from building relationships with guys? Do these stories and beliefs disempower you or make you feel like a victim out in the world and even to yourself? If they check any of those boxes, you've identified them and it's time for them to go bye-bye. So how do we release these limiting beliefs and stories about ourselves? Well, the first important step is to acknowledge that no one else can write your story for you. You are the sole and uncontested author of your life. And at any moment, you can choose to begin writing a new chapter. And the best way to do that is to really start listening to yourself and the way you talk to yourself. Be a witness to that conversation and ask yourself, am I talking to myself like someone I love? Am I treating myself like someone I love, right? Or am I my own worst enemy? Am I my own biggest bully? This is the foundation of you shifting that conversation around yourself. And as you shift that conversation, it shifts the way that you feel about yourself, right? And as the way you feel about yourself shifts, the way men see and experience you shifts, right? We want to see and feel and experience you in full ownership of your worth and your value and of what you bring to the table in relationship. We're going to take your word for it, right? However you choose to feel about yourself, we're going to believe you. And the third thing you're going to want to release to have great relationships with men is projecting your wounds onto him. And this is so common with women from early stages of dating all the way to long-term relationships. And the key principle to recognize here is that unless you're conscious of it, you are seeing your partner and your relationship with him through the lens of your past experiences with other people, which often includes, most importantly, the wounds that you've experienced in those past relationships. And your wounds are the internalized pain and trauma from your past relationships. And they're sort of stored deep within you, sort of like a landmine, right? Waiting to be triggered. And if we're not aware of and taking responsibility of our wounds, a lot of times we're going to see what our partner is doing through the lens of them, right? And we're going to take every little action that he's making as an alarm bell that he's about to hurt us the way we've been hurt in the past, which causes us to get triggered, right? To trigger the trauma from that wound. And then we will lash out at that personally, emotionally in some way, either by acting out or shutting down or running away. Who knows? It's very personal. And ladies, these triggering events can be real small. Oh my God, he didn't make eye contact with me for 3 full seconds while he was telling me about his day. That's exactly what Jake did. And you know what Jake did? He cheated on me. That's why he couldn't make eye contact with me. So you know what? You must be lying to me. You must be cheating on me too. Get out of my house. And ladies, how do you think it makes a guy feel when he has an experience like this? Because here's the thing. We can tell when a woman has projected her wounds onto us. We can tell that we're not being seen or experienced for who we are, and that you're experiencing a past relationship through us. It's honestly very frustrating because for a man, there's nothing he's craving more in relationship than being seen and appreciated and understood for who he is uniquely by his woman, by his partner, right? And so when we're being seen for who we aren't, it sucks. So how do we recognize if we're projecting onto our partner and getting triggered? Well, the easiest way to see it is to look at the response, right? Look at the event, the triggering event, and look at the response. If the response is significantly bigger than the triggering event, oftentimes it's because it's activated a much larger trauma for you. So in the example that I just showed you, right? He didn't make eye contact for 3 seconds while he was giving her the daily report. And maybe he just got distracted, maybe he's tired. There's a million things that could have happened, right? But she saw it through the lens of her last boyfriend who wasn't faithful to her, and she let the dogs out on him. So that's how a great way to identify if you're projecting and if you're being triggered. So how do we release our projections so that they don't sabotage our relationships? Well, the key to doing this is to recognize when you are being triggered, right? When the ball starts rolling, and rather than suppress those triggers, because you don't want to ignore them, right? You want to recognize, and then you want to remove yourself from the situation, right? And then just allow that trigger to run its course. You want to allow the feelings to flow through you and use it as a guidepost, right? To help you know what you get to work on, right? Maybe you still need to forgive your partner who cheated on you back in the day, or reestablish trust with men through some other sort of work. And then once the trigger is passed, share it with your partner. Let him know, like what you've experienced, what you've gone through, and use it as an opportunity for y'all to become closer and to begin healing it, right? Because triggers are here to help you. They're here to let you know what you get to heal next. And one of the most powerful ways to do it is with your partner. I've done that myself many times in past relationships, and it's been incredibly beautiful. I promise it'll end up bringing you closer together. And the second thing you get to release to build lasting love with a guy is fear of judgment. Because ladies, I got some hard truth for you. If you want to build a deep and meaningful connection with a man, it is going to take you embodying and demonstrating something that may be a little scary to you: vulnerability. And as the feminine partner in the relationship, it is your responsibility to demonstrate to your man what vulnerability looks and feels like. Remember, you are the conductor of the communicative and emotional aspects of your relationship. You are the guide, right? And so being vulnerable means owning your voice, being courageous in sharing what's in your heart, and not being afraid to show him those sides of you, not just that you're proud of, but some of the sides that you might not be so proud of or even have a little shame around. Oh my God, how is he gonna respond when he finds out I'm lactose intolerant? His family has been dairy farmers for generations. They're gonna think I'm broken. They're never gonna accept me as one of their own. And I joke, ladies, but the truth is we all have sides of ourselves. We all have shadow elements that we are afraid to show our partner because we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of being rejected. We have all these fears and resistance to true vulnerability. But what I want you to remember is that the man who is right for you, the man who really sees and honors and cherishes you, wants to know your deepest truth. He wants to see your light and your shadow, right? And he will celebrate you, not just for the things that you're proud of, but for the things you're embarrassed about. So if you're lactose intolerant, own it. I know I do. I can't eat ice cream. And you know what? That's okay. And here we go, ladies, the moment of truth. The number one thing that you get to release if you want to have a deep, meaningful, loving connection with a man is, drumroll please, outcome dependence. And what is outcome dependence? It is getting very attached to a specific experience, whether it be a date or a relationship going a certain way. And women have a tendency to get very attached to a very specific trajectory of their relationships and experiences with men. And it's understandable, right? You invest a ton of time and energy into your relationships with men, and naturally, you want a return on that investment. I get it. But a phrase I use with my clients and students all the time is that people, and specifically men, right? They flow into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so much of the suffering that I see in relationship comes from when people are unable or unwilling to accept what the natural length of the relationship is supposed to be. For example, you might want a man to be your forever guy, right? When in reality, he's only in your life to help teach you some valuable lessons and to prepare you for your soulmate, for your lifetime partner who's just waiting for you to get out of that relationship. Your current partner is just a reason and a season guy. And I know because I've been that guy. I've been a reason and a season guy for several women in my life, and they've wanted really badly for me to be their lifetime partner. And here's the thing, ladies, you cannot force a man or a relationship to be something that it's not. And if you try to hold on to that partner because of your attachment to the relationship unfolding a certain way, it's actually going to backfire on you because it's holding you back from your dream partner who's waiting right around the corner. And one last reason it's so important to release outcome dependence in relationship is I want you to think about what type of energy you're bringing to a date or to a relationship when you are determined, right, that it's going to go a certain way no matter what. What type of energy do you think you're bringing to the relational container? Yep, you guessed it, masculine energy. When you're very attached to a specific outcome, it fundamentally affects the way that you show up to your partner, and it's going to end up depolarizing the relationship, pushing your partner away, and sabotaging what could be a really meaningful, wonderful love connection. So take a second, ladies, and reflect on your attachment patterns and ask yourself, have I been outcome dependent in my past relationships? And if so, what impact has that had on how those relationships unfolded? So if you're able to release these 5 mindsets, these 5 patterns from your relationships and connections with men, you're going to be so much more present, so much more authentic, and so much more magnetic to the men in your life. And to review, those 5 things are: number 5, the stories and beliefs that you have created around men, right? These huge generalizations that we build to protect ourselves from being hurt by men that actually hold us back from connecting with them in the first place. And number 4, the disempowering, limiting beliefs and stories that we've created around ourselves. Ladies, they are not here to serve us. They're not here to serve you, and they're actually going to sabotage the way that you show up in your connections with men. It's not doing you any good. Number 3, projecting your wounds onto him. Remember, he is not your ex. And your experience with him, he is craving you seeing and appreciating him for who he is, not looking at him through the rose-colored glasses of your past trauma. Really try to see and appreciate him for who he is. And if you get triggered, take a step back and then come back and use it as an opportunity to heal with him. And number 2 is your fear of judgment, right? This is a huge block for intimacy between men and women. But here's the thing. If you want to have a deep connection, you're going to get to demonstrate vulnerability with him as the conductor. And the only way you're going to be able to do that courageously is by releasing your fear of judgment for any aspect of who you are, especially those things you're ashamed of, like, most importantly, your lactose intolerance. And the number 1 thing that you get to release to create meaningful love with a guy is outcome dependence. If you can release your attachment to a date or a relationship going a certain way, that's going to make you magnetic to him. It's going to make you present. It's going to make you high value. It's going to allow you to shine and be your true, authentic self with him. And he's going to be drawn to that, right? Because he's not going to feel pressured that you're expecting things to go a certain way. So I hope you enjoyed these tips and you get out there and use them in your dating and relationships with men. But before you do, take a second, hit that little subscribe button and hit that little bell. And don't forget to sound off in the comments. Let us know what your favorite tip was, what your biggest aha moment was, or maybe some ones that I missed. I would love that. And don't forget, ladies, we've got an incredible love course coming on February 8th. You're going to want to go to masteryofconnection.com, click that link in my comments and caption, and be sure to check that out. It is going to be an amazing experience. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.